Annette spoke exclusively to Saxony Minister-President Michael Kretschmer and asked him whether the rise of the AfD represented a threat to domestic policymaking. Take a listen.
Ja, vor allen Dingen zunächst einmal.
We need to tackle the problems which voters perceive as having been neglected for many years. Your colleagues from the news agencies and other media outlets ask voters on a regular basis what topics are most important to them. The dominant topics are migration, energy policy, state overreach, as seen with the recent farmer protests. If we don't fill the vacuum in which populists operate, we will never be successful. That's a lesson we've learned from right-wing parties like the NPD or the Republicans, where the extremist wing has grown increasingly vocal in the last few years. These phenomena disappeared after the problems got solved. Right now, they're not being solved, and that's why we see people moving into their camp. We as the opposition party in Parliament always offered to solve the problems together with the government, but that common approach was not favoured.
This as economies across the EU try to counter growing trade tensions around the world.
Ja, noch merken wir ja die negativen
So far, we've only felt the beginning of the negative consequences, but we still don't have a solution for slow economic growth and strong competition from the US and China. The Inflation Reduction Act is a protectionist measure, and we look at it astonished, but we don't have an answer. The IPCI are a European project, but they offer too little and are too bureaucratic and take too long. Our measures to build up hydrogen are not fast or powerful enough to compare with what the US is doing. And on the other side, we have China and the discussion around solar cells. We shouldn't make the mistake, for instance, for populist reasons, by answering with tariffs and other protectionist measures. There are two issues here which are important. One is our own competitiveness. That was also mentioned by the French president. Here we need to talk about energy supply and energy costs in Germany. How much will electricity cost in the future? Is Germany headed in the right direction? Macron put a big question mark at the end of these sentences, and I think he's right. Secondly, we shouldn't forget that some issues, for instance what we currently monitor with Chinese solar panels, are directly connected to the closure of the US market. And we, as Europe, with our 450 million people, need to find our own strong position, both towards the US and also towards China. We should be a ball between these two powers that flies from one side to the other, but we need to ask, what is our own strength and how can we enforce it?
A lot